Good morning. It's Tuesday, the 9th of June. It is the 9th. Greetings from Northumberland on a still and quiet morning. Today we celebrate in the church St. Columba, and the church in the east celebrates St. Ephraim. I'm not going to say too much about either of them, although they're both interesting characters. Columba is famous for having moved from Ireland, where he was part of an influential priestly group, to the west of Scotland, to the island of Iona, which is in turn off the island of Mull, and there he established a new monastery, which transformed really the life of the church in the north of Britain. Not so much because of the missionary work he did, but he did go as far as Inverness, but because of the missionary work that flowed from what he did. His energies were put into forming that Christian community and that monastic community, which in turn then became the base for evangelization in Scotland, continued Christian mission in Ireland, and of course through Aidan and those who came with him for the evangelization of this area, the area from which I speak to you. The Christianity here really was rekindled, was re-enlightened by the work of those Irish monastics who came from the community on Iona. And that's really at the heart of what I want to say to you today. Today's gospel, from the normal reading of gospels, it follows on from yesterday's, as they often do. It's from Matthew chapter 5. Jesus says to his disciples, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt becomes tasteless, what can make it salty again? You are the light of the world. A city built on a hilltop cannot be hidden. A light cannot be hidden, or should not be hidden, under a bushel." Jesus gives to the church, to Christian people, the vocation of being salt and light, of changing our world. Salt gives flavour, light gives hope and the possibility of new things being done. And Jesus calls us as Christians to be able to do this. And St. Columba's story is really the story of a new base for bringing salt and light to the church in Scotland, in Ireland, and in the north of England. And it shows us, I think, what our churches should be. There's a lot of argument at the moment going on the internet among vicars particularly, which isn't particularly enlightening, as arguments between vicars often aren't, as whether the church is the community or whether the church is the building, and is it important that the buildings are opened. But the truth is that those early Celtic Irish evangelists did something that was a good pattern. They formed a community, they built a church for prayer and worship. They welcomed people to it and they went out from it. And that should be a pattern, I believe, for our Christian communities. I've worked in a cathedral, I've worked in parish churches for 40 years in different contexts. But the important thing is that the church where we meet is the place where a community of prayer is formed, where people are formed as Christian people by that prayer, and where they are equipped to go out, to live and to work to God's praise and glory, as our liturgy says. Columba formed a Christian community in Iona that had influence throughout the north of our islands, and through the renewed Iona community continues to have that influence. But each of our churches, each of our parish churches, can be an example of that. A place where people encounter God, meet with God, are renewed by their relationship with God, and then are salt and light for their communities. May God bless us in that ambition, in that vocation.